It looked like Jamari's down to the lowest he's been in several years in terms of weight wise. How much has that been by design to have him be more than a H or A? And if you have any insight into what the body composition change was to go along with the weight change?
I think I think that was loud. Um, I think Jamari is obviously is a gigantic human being. I think when he was in high school, he was 265 somewhere in there, and he was. I think he would tell you he was too big at that time, and some of that's just being immature and undisciplined. And he's done a really, really good job changing his body composition. Does he still have some room to grow, like in that department? Right? Could he put on more weight if he wanted to? Yeah, I think that he could, but I think he's trying to do it the right way. We're trying to do it the right way. I think it's definitively helped him become more agile, more athletic out there on the field. You can see he runs really, really well. He changes direction well. I've been excited for it. I think you never kind of know with a player exactly what their body composition should be, right? It's kind of a working process. And so we knew that his body fat percentage needed to go down. And we knew that his muscle mass needed to go up. I mean, that part's easy to figure out. We'll see where it goes from here. Do I think he's going to be at this weight for the entirety of his career? Probably not, but has it been good for him right now? Yeah, I think so. And credit to him, like he's worked really hard at it. Brenna and Wilson Love and those guys have done a really good job. He's stuck to the plan, for, as well as a redshirt sophomore in college can do.
Back right, Brett.
Coach, obviously, the tight end game for Oregon has been just so important over the last couple of years, obviously with, T. Ferg and Patrick and the list goes on. But with obviously Kenyon kind of the star and the focal point, how important is it to get the next group ready for what's to come and guys like AJ and maybe Roger that are maybe potentially trying to look to get some more reps this season?
I think that any organization has an obligation to continue to develop their young players. You didn't bring them here, so they could be emergency situations or band-aid situations for the upcoming season. I think that we have a really great room in there. I think we have a really talented room, yeah, Kenyon. Kenyon's in year 3. I thought, obviously, like T. Ferg had a great career here. It seems like he's doing well in LA, and then Patrick is seemingly doing really well in Jacksonville. I think for a lot of those guys, you look at that and you're like, man, how long is it going to take me to get my chance, right? And then you see like Patrick Herbert had to sit for 2 seasons for injury, right? And then even when he came back his 3rd season, he was really our 4th tight end in the game. Then he played really, really well, I thought, for us for his last 2 seasons. So we're not, in recruiting and in my room, we're not telling these guys, hey, you got to wait your turn. We're saying, hey, if you're good enough, you're old enough, right? But you got to go out and earn it. And guys like Kenyon have worked really hard for 2 seasons for this opportunity. Roger played really well for us as a freshman last year. So if you're a freshman that can get out there and play, great. You're, Jamari, you're a transfer, get in there and mix it up. And so guys like AJ Cade, Zach Grace, Zach played in a bunch of games for us this past year. Vander's coming along, right? Been really excited about it. They're a really, really good group. They're great to coach. Thankful for the leadership that we've had in that room from Terrence and Patrick, and it's kind of carrying over. Kenyon's doing a really good job in that room. Kind of weirdly, the young guys, the old head, down in that room. So it's been fun. They're very supportive of each other. They push each other. They coach each other pretty hard. Sometimes it doesn't leave a whole lot of room for me in there at times, which is great. It's a good problem to have. So I'm excited about where those guys are at. I think that we've got a really big room right now. I think we've got a very talented room, right? And it's on us as coaches, right, to continue to push them to grow. But feel great about where we're at from the youth and the depth that we have there.
On the right, Chris.
Yeah, Roger had some nice moments on the field last year before he got hurt. Where have you seen improvement from him this fall?
I think that I was a person that had 3 knee surgeries, and your first time coming back and playing live football, there's a bit of like a tentative feeling, right? Like, is this going to hurt? Right? Is this going to happen again? And the cool thing about Roger is Roger doesn't seemingly care. He is like 1,000 miles an hour full go. I was like, hey, we might have to like modify some of your reps. And he was like, I don't want any of that, So it's really cool to watch a kid that went through what he went through and come out and is like running around like nothing happened. And he's grown a lot. He's put on a bunch of weight. He's 245 plus at the moment and doing really well. He's, there's always some movement pattern things that you got to clean up, like post injury like that. And so some of that stuff is, but the same player that we saw play as a freshman, I think it's almost like it almost never happened, other than he's got a knee brace on right now, and how long he'll wear that, I'm not sure. Like if it was up to Roger, he'd never wear it again, but we got to protect him from themselves at times. So he's doing great, still making some plays, making the same plays that we saw him make as a freshman, continuing to grow. The added weight has really, really helped him, I think, especially down in the C area with guys like Mateo and Tatum and those giants that they have over there.
Back left, Matt.
AJ was a talented player in high school, dealt with some injuries when he got here because of high school football. Just where's his development at, and how you feel like he's going to help you guys this season?
AJ has come a long way. I think that, high school football is different than college football for a lot of reasons. And sometimes that's really hard to grasp. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure you guys deal with it, like small market media versus like you guys get into a big market. And it's like, oh, this is different. This is harder. And I thought he grew a lot. It was hard the first time because, North Medford High School is not the same as, Oregon. And he's put on, like Raj, he's put on a bunch of weight. I think he's probably just shy of 250 at the moment, which is by far the heaviest he's ever been. And the great thing, AJ is super smart. He is got to be the smartest kid in that room. If that kid wanted to be a rocket scientist, he could do it. And very so having him out there, he's always knowledgeable, always knows what to do. And I think his body is still growing into like the weight and the strength that he's put on right now. And I think he's not afraid. He's physical. And I think he's having fun again playing football, which has been really cool to see. I've been really, really excited about to see like this big smile on his face and his growth and development. He had, we chart blocks of the day and things like that in our room. That's a point of pride and emphasis in there. And he had one the other day that was, right out of the textbook. You couldn't ask him to do it better. So he's continuing to grow. And as he continues to grow, he's never going to be 6'7" or anything like that. But he's a physical, aggressive player, smart player, and a very, very dependable player. So I'm really excited about where he's at and where he continues to grow. Obviously, like he takes a lot of pride in this school. He grew up sleeping under an Oregon, comforter on his bed, and this school means a whole lot to him. So, there's very few people in the world that are going to give more to this school than AJ Pugliano.
Back middle.
Coach, last week we heard that, week one was sort of focused on the installation during fall camp. Now that we're starting week two, are we starting to get a better understanding of some of the strengths and what types of personnel gives you those best opportunities, or are we still in that installation process? What's your vision of this team so far?
I think that, probably a little bit of both to answer that question. I think it's always, I guess that's like kind of the art of the whole thing, right? And especially from Will's seat, and Will does as good a job as anybody in the country. Who's got to touch the ball for us, in on top, like against, what personnels can we put on the field, against what personnels are they going to put on the field, and right, and you can create all kinds of schematic answers. But I think that if you go watch us throughout the past few seasons, I don't know that we ever really like stop installing. Like there's always got to be new little wrinkles and things like that going in, right? Because you can get stale really quickly and predictable. So yeah, we've installed, I would say, probably 80% of our offense, 85%, somewhere in that neighborhood. There's always going to be some new little nuanced things that we want to have and create, and maybe change, an ID structure in a run game or add, this element to a man beater or something like that we want to create. So those guys got to learn the game, I think, very conceptually versus rote memorization. And I think we do a really good job here. Coach Lanning forces everybody to teach it that way that we can continuously progress, and you can put guys in different spots to do that. So I feel like we're pretty close to figuring out, who really needs to play for us, like what that roster is going to look like and who's going to step on the field. But I think it's still pretty, like, in the same note, I also feel like it's kind of wide open. Young guys make pushes. We've got a few, like, especially young wide receivers right now that I think are playing pretty good football. So if you make a predetermined judgment too early, I think that you can put yourself in a bad spot. So I think it's a little bit of both right now. Is there going to be more scheme? Yeah, as much as there was in week 1. No. Are we an 11 personnel team with Tez Johnson in the slot this year? Like, no, like Tez Johnson's not here. Are we this team or that team? I think we're a little bit of a lot of things, because I think we're as talented as we've been at all positions. We're just a little bit younger. So it's been fun to watch those guys develop and put them in situations and see who can handle it. So it's actually really exciting right now. And it's been really, really fun to coach. Hard at times, right? Because you don't have the same Terrence Fergusons and, guys out there that are, you can go to sleep at night knowing that we could throw anything you want at the kid and he's going to know what to do and execute it. But that's part of coaching, and that's what makes it fun. But watching those guys out there, those young guys go out there and compete, man, it's been awesome.